Chapter 56. Harrison sat pensively in front of the wall filled with sunlight opposite the window. Some things were very simple for him, but some were very difficult. As simple as Seraphina's disappearance. He only knew that it was related to two people, Jaden and William. Dealing with Jaden was simple, just need to find Logan, who valued the rules like him. If Logan dared to cut off a finger of his own brother for breaking the rules of gambling in front of him, he wouldn't lie about Seraphina. Only William remained. He guessed that Mia's plan to give up drugs had caused William to rebel, and with Lily on top of that, the possibility of them kidnapping Seraphina was very high. Without thinking, he had someone in Beijing send a fax to the Kensington family. The evidence of embezzlement and bribery for leasing power was over 100 pages long, enough to sentence William's parents to death. A minute later, he received a call from Mia. Harrison promised, as long as Seraphina was safe and sound, he would never reveal it. Mia's calm tone made him realize that this was actually her trap. Perhaps even her two children did not discover this news. Most likely, after Mia learned about Hannah's situation, she gave up her plan to lure Seraphina and Harrison, and sided with William, who wanted to destroy Seraphina, but at the same time also wanted to turn Seraphina into a pawn, to probe Harrison's thoughts. Although she felt sorry for her daughter's feelings, if she knew that Harrison was not an ally but an opponent, she wouldn't have been so confused as to let her beloved daughter suffer, and she might have taken Hannah away. Harrison originally planned to take over all the key positions in the Kensington family's Carner Company after returning from Macau, but however, he didn't feel sorry. Who he wanted to eliminate was just a matter of time. There would be many opportunities in the future. It was just that some things kept going on and on. From the time he learned about the place where Seraphina was locked up until he chased her there, it was only 15 minutes. Stagnant water, ropes, red bruises on her arms and legs, from the cabin to the deck. What exactly happened in those 15 minutes? When she was unconscious in the back seat, her words were like a knife stabbing into his heart, and he even asked someone to investigate her life several times. The result was even more miserable than he had imagined. He didn't know why she could still smile normally. The most reasonable answer was that the few hours of being locked up had brought back all of her painful memories from before. In the warm sunlight, his eyes were dark and cold, his chin was drawn into a strong arc. For the first time in his life, he felt so helpless. It was so hard for the two of them to get closer, but suddenly there was a strange distance between them. What could they do to save it? At the same time, Seraphina had completely recovered, packing her things to prepare to leave the hospital. Halfway through, she heard someone knocking on the door. She turned her head to look. It was Vivian. She had changed into normal clothes, carrying a small bag. It seemed like she was leaving the hospital today. Seraphina saw her ugly expression and asked, "Aren't you going to stay in the hospital?" Vivian shook her head, and tried to reply dejectedly. "Grandma said that my mother's condition has improved, and she has taken her abroad to recuperate for a long time. There are doctors there anyway, so I should just stay home and rest, and conveniently go there to visit my mother. Maybe if I talk to her more, she will wake up faster." Seraphina was momentarily silent, not knowing what to say. This time, William had already broken her heart. She saw Seraphina's complicated eyes, and smiled faintly. "I'm inexperienced and underestimated William. But considering that I bought back the Ashford shares from Jaden at a low price, this trip to Macau was still profitable. Traveling for a day, learning a lot, and knowing." She paused slightly. "A lot of things, a lot of people." Seraphina continued to pack up her things, and said calmly, "As long as you feel fine, that's enough. I'll go back first." Vivian was about to leave, but suddenly remembered something and asked, "Seraphina, do you remember that day I asked you why you don't have a boyfriend?" Seraphina had forgotten everything, and asked indifferently, "What?" Vivian saw her unconcerned expression, and shook her head again. "Nothing." She hadn't left for long when someone knocked on the door again. It was Lucas. Seraphina put the matter in her mind aside and asked, "Have you found out yet?" Lucas nodded and handed her the document bag. "You guessed right, there are people with suspicious behavior in the house or in the Smith Corporation." She opened the document bag and looked. Ever since Vivian told her about Hannah drugging her, she had been suspicious. Hannah couldn't have investigated her whereabouts so clearly. She suspected that there was a spy around her, so she asked Lucas to carefully investigate the Beaumont family's businesses and the key employees of the Smith Corporation. Her face was as heavy as lead, but she understood clearly in her heart. She handed the document bag back to Lucas. "We have to think of a way to deal with all the key positions that have problems." "That's right. Did you find the psychologist I asked you to?" "Found it. It's Nora Morgan. Coincidentally, she's the wife of Dr. Spencer, your grandmother's personal physician." Her pupils contracted. It was indeed a coincidence. Megan's best friend Nora could be involved with the Beaumont family like that. No matter what, the first step in her plan was to catch Nora. She was about to leave when she suddenly stopped, took out a piece of paper from her pocket and gave it to Lucas, her expression unusually calm. "Find me this medicine, but don't tell anyone." Lucas looked at the unfamiliar name of the medicine on the paper, not understanding anything but still agreeing. She quickly contacted Nora through Dr. Spencer's introduction. Sitting in Nora's office, Serafina calmly looked around. The decoration was very simple and clean. She vaguely remembered the old days when she was in Beijing. Megan and Nora were very close. At that time, every time Megan went to the Beaumont house but could not get along with Lily and saw Olivia living a luxurious life, when she returned she would always be angry and cry. The person she cried and complained to was none other than the psychologist Nora, who always listened and always understood. Later, Serafina moved to Dalian, and her impression of Nora, whom she had only met a few times, gradually faded. But now Megan returned to Beijing, married into a rich family, took back her daughter, and would surely happily share in front of Nora. After all, in the past, she always used her weak identity to ask for comfort. Now that her life has changed, she will definitely want to show it off. She doesn't know if Megan has noticed, but Serafina understands very well that one of the occupational diseases of psychologists is that, in order to analyze patients and create medical records, they often have the habit of recording audio, or even video. In her previous life, when she was addicted, she tried psychotherapy, and at that time the doctor in charge of the treatment was Nora. The therapy was ineffective, and Nora suddenly concluded that she had antisocial tendencies and hated humanity. If it weren't for the day the doctor from the mental hospital came to arrest people and met Theodore, she would definitely have been tied up in the mental hospital and forced to take antidepressants. That day, Theodore got angry and beat someone, and his photo was taken and posted online, and the media continued to criticize the unfilial grandson of the Beaumont family. Now that she thought about it, the reason was very simple: it must be thanks to Megan's favor. While Serafina was still thinking, Nora had already arrived. She didn't remember Serafina clearly, but she already knew her identity from her husband. Thinking about being able to hold her in her hands to demand money from Megan, she felt extremely happy in her heart. Her attitude towards Serafina also softened a lot. Serafina exaggeratedly recounted the incident of her being kidnapped and almost humiliated. Her tone was extremely sorrowful. "Now every time I close my eyes, I remember their disgusting faces. Every day I feel despair and fear. Every day is a nightmare." Serafina was half truthful, half lying. While telling the story, she shed tears of sadness a few times. Nora glanced at her and concluded that it was low-intensity post-traumatic stress disorder. Her tone was gentle and slow, reassuring her. "Don't be afraid, all nightmares will eventually wake up. The things you're stuck with are just illusions in your mind. Those scary things are not happening now, right?" Serafina saw the sharp gaze flash in her eyes, immediately looked away, buried her head in the chair and cried out, "I don't want to talk anymore, I just want to rest for a while." After speaking, she painfully closed her tear-filled eyes. "It's okay, we'll talk again next time." Serafina heard the sound of her taking out the tape recorder, opened her eyes slightly, and saw her put it in the last drawer on the bookshelf and locked it. She closed her eyes again. Finding a skilled thief was a piece of cake. That night, she received Megan's recent audio and videotapes, and to her surprise, Lily was also there. This was not psychotherapy, but just casual gossip, secretly recorded by Nora out of habit. She calmly watched it all, already having an idea in mind. The next day, it just so happened that an investor came to the school to select a new potential director and screenwriter. and the film crew would also be looking for new actors. While she was still in the hospital, Emma said that after reading her war film script, she recommended her to producer Brian Merlin of Heaven Company. Brian was very interested, and wanted to invest in Emma and Serafina to work together again. Serafina was very excited, and on the way to school, she chattered a lot with Harrison, who was her driver. While he was driving, he listened to her cheerful laughter, smiling slightly, occasionally replying a few sentences. On one hand, he was happy that she had returned to being a talented student in the screenwriting department, and was extremely excited when talking about the script, but on the other hand, he was heartbroken because he didn't know how long this cheerfulness of hers could last. Actually, she also felt different. These past few days, whether it was over the phone or in person, he talked more and acted more gently. How could someone as sensitive as her not notice the helpless pain in his heart? She knew he loved her, perhaps even tried all kinds of ways to investigate, wanting to vent her anger, but couldn't find out. That's right, the matter of his previous life, even if he had the most extraordinary ability, he still couldn't find out. With his personality, he must have been miserable to death, but he was afraid that saying it would hurt her, so he could only try to be comfortable, not creating more pressure for both of them. But if this continued, their relationship would have problems. So when the car stopped, she took off her seatbelt, but didn't get out of the car, but suddenly threw herself into his arms. He hugged her, surprised. "What's wrong?" She gently said, "It's okay, it's just time to tell you some things on my mind." He couldn't help but feel nervous, both anxious and expectant. He didn't need anything, he just waited for her to open her heart, to tell him the pain in her heart, just waited for her to completely trust him, to rely on him. Her voice was very soft, even slightly trembling. "From childhood to adulthood, I had to witness the disgusting image of Megan and many men. During the process of growing up, there were always bad guys who wanted me, so I learned martial arts to protect myself. But that night, I was tied up on the boat, my whole body had no strength, seeing so many men, disgusting faces, vulgar words," she slowly whispered. He silently endured, holding his hand tightly. "I thought I would be," she trembled slightly. "They left, I thought back and was still scared. It wasn't until I saw you that I completely relaxed, feeling an unprecedented sense of luck and warmth. At that time I secretly thought I wanted to be closer to you. But in my subconscious, there was still a conflict, so don't blame me, okay?" His hands were blue and his body was stiff with anger. Only when he heard the last few sentences did he gradually calm down. "Why would I blame you?" He hugged her, pressing his cheek against her hair, although he hated those guys, but at this moment the most important thing was her openness. He hugged her soft figure, feeling his heart soften as well, sighing softly, "It's my fault. At that time you were sick, and your mood was unstable, I shouldn't have lost control like that. It's over," she smiled in his embrace. "From now on, let's just be like this. If there's something on your mind, think carefully and then say it, okay?" He trembled, lowered his head, and pressed close to her cheek. "Okay." After hugging each other silently for a while, she left his embrace and prepared to get out of the car. When she stood up, she accidentally dropped her bag, something in the bag fell out. He glanced over, startled, picked up the box of sedatives, and looked at her. She stroked the tangled hair by her ear, somewhat embarrassed, and honestly said, "After that day, I was always uneasy, and kept thinking about unhappy things, so I went to see a psychologist. The doctor said that perhaps this incident had awakened past pains, and was afraid that I might have depression, so he gave me medication." He frowned. "I think the doctor seems to want to have his license revoked, and confiscate this medication." After he finished speaking, he softened his voice, held her hand. "If you need a psychologist, I will find one for you, it will be more trustworthy." With what she had been through in the past few years, she really should find a professional to help her. And she immediately nodded in agreement. When she arrived at the hall, the students were already gathered in groups of 3 or 5, talking to producers and directors that they were interested in. She was looking for the location of Heaven Company when she saw Emma waving at her. She walked over there, and through Emma, she got to know the famous producer Brian. The three of them chatted for a while about the movie script. Brian was very satisfied, and expressed his hope that one day they could meet to discuss further. Serafina was very excited, but she didn't know why Emma was also excited. She pulled her sister aside. "What are you doing that makes you so excited? Heaven Company is your family's, you are its boss, why are you so surprised and happy?" Emma chuckled. She wouldn't say that it was because Harrison had done so many trivial things and still asked her and Brian to encourage Serafina. Of course, the most important thing was that Serafina was indeed very talented. Emma changed the subject. "Our school is making a news website. Any new news here today will instantly appear on everyone's mobile phones." Emma's fingers quickly moved across the screen and typed a string of characters. A series of phones around her rang. Everyone looked at their phones and then turned their eyes towards Serafina, both admiring and jealous. "What are you doing?" Serafina picked up her phone to take a look. The news. Heaven's producer Brian Merlin likes Serafina's script, Dragon Painting, preparing to start. Let's wait together. Emma had just typed appeared on the web. This news was displayed on everyone's phones here? Serafina couldn't help but smile. It really did reduce a lot of technical problems. At this moment, she suddenly saw Theodore among the crowd. The subsidiary company under Smith also invested in the entertainment industry, so it wasn't strange for him to appear here. But just as she was about to go over, she saw Lily dressed very cutely chatting with him. She frowned, then smiled, and when she got closer, she heard Lily's soft and coquettish voice. "Theodore, Director Scott just wanted me to play the lead role in his new movie, and when I didn't know who to share my joy with, I saw you. You're my lucky star." Theodore also smiled. "I've seen you act before, very good, keep up the good work." Serafina walked forward, linked arms with him, and smiled at Lily. "Your mother is right behind you. Why do you say you don't know who to share your joy with?" This time, the whole parent association was invited. Olivia, Megan, and Mia all came. Olivia used to be an actress, and a few of her contemporaries had switched to being producers or directors, so now she was chatting happily with them. Megan sat with Mia the whole time, chatting openly and intimately like in-laws. Serafina guessed that perhaps after being an accomplice in the Macau case, or Winston had really given Lily the right to manage the Ashford family business and more than half of the company's shares as a dowry, Mia now wanted to take Lily in. Mia was a shrewd woman, knowing that she couldn't entice Serafina and Harrison, so it was better to find new allies. As soon as Serafina finished speaking, the smile on Theodore's face disappeared, because he had just seen Megan and Mia, the two old women he hated the most, behind Lily. Lily looked at Serafina, her eyes flashing with hatred. That day, William was determined to leave. She had to follow, and then she found out that Harrison had come to save Serafina. And Harrison, for Serafina, did not hesitate to cut off the relationship between the two families, almost forcing the Kensington family into a corner. She did not expect Serafina to be more capable than her, seducing a man like Harrison. She was so jealous that she went crazy. If she had known, she would have blindfolded Serafina, let those guys rape her and then talk about it later. But what was even more infuriating was that before leaving, she had clearly given Serafina a drug. This was a failed experimental drug from the Ashfors research lab. All the white mice that had been tested with the drug had gone numb and gone crazy beyond saving. Unexpectedly, could it be that she turned this medicine into a fever reducer? Although she was angry, with Theodore there, she still disguised herself very well, smiling sweetly. "Serafina, I just heard the news. It seems that you have cooperated with producer Merlin. Congratulations." Serafina didn't bother to act friendly with her in front of Theodore, didn't pay any attention to her, looked at Theodore, and even acted spoiled. "Producer Merlin has already chosen my script, am I great? You have to give me a congratulatory gift." Theodore was truly proud and happy for Serafina in his heart. For a moment he didn't argue with her like usual, instead he became like an older brother, full of indulgence. "Okay, whatever you like, I will give you that." Serafina was a bit stunned, warmth crept into her heart, and smiled. "Then I have to think carefully." It was the first time Lily saw Serafina and Theodore being so close, and it was also the first time she saw Theodore being such a strong and mature man. To her, Theodore had always been a big, naive, mischievous brat, very impulsive, very simple, very reckless, very straightforward. But at this moment, he had transformed into a sturdy tree, knowing how to protect and pamper his older sister. And his older sister was Serafina, not her. Her heart ached, both jealous and resentful, her lips curled up as if trying to pull him. "Theodore, then how do you plan to congratulate me?" Theodore was stunned, and before he could answer, Serafina had already firmly said, "Do you like to ask others for gifts?" Lily immediately felt so wrong that tears welled up in her eyes. Now Serafina no longer needed to consider Theodore's feelings, coldly snorting, "Who are you crying for? When you were looking for someone to kidnap me, you saw that I had a fever and deliberately poured ice water on me, and almost let those men humiliate me, and I didn't even cry. Now you're feeling wrong just because of a sentence that doesn't hurt at all? Lily Harper, you can pretend to be pitiful and demand sympathy in front of the whole world, but in front of me you are not allowed, nor qualified to cry."